There is no doubt the world is facing daunting challenges these days. Look around. We have reached a critical point in human history. Old leadership models, beliefs, and behaviors are no longer working. Centuries of emasculation have brought us to the brink. Men need help, and who better to help us but the women? This is W.E.L.L., the Women's Expressions on Leadership, Learning, and Liberty podcast show, and I'm its host, John Krotek. My guests are accomplished and intelligent women who share not only their personal stories, but give us valuable insights and perspectives on the leadership challenges men face. In a world still dominated primarily by men, these honest perspectives can be a genuine catalyst for male leadership improvement. By exploring possibilities and opportunities for self-improvement and transformation, we offer men hope in an ever-changing, fast-paced, complex world. Thank you for listening and for your support. Lead on. I am really excited for this episode of the W.E.L.L. podcast. This person, Anya Pechko, reached out to me on LinkedIn, which is a great place to network and to meet interesting and successful and capable people. And she's got one heck of a story, but even more so, she's working on things and subjects and programs and methods that are so badly needed. I'm going to do an introduction based on her bio, and then we really want to hear about Anya. So let me tell you, this is really cool. Anya Pechko is a digital wellness coach. And I have to admit, she's the first one that I've ever met. But if we had more digital coaches, wellness coaches, I know that we could navigate this world much better and healthier. She's also the founder of ProjectBe, and we'll have all that information in the notes. But it is a platform that raises awareness about the growing dangers of media and digital attachment. Wow, that's huge. Some of her skills, she's got many, include team leadership, organizational workflow, and project management. She's committed to creating the conditions necessary for human relationships, healthy ones, communities, and personal well-being to thrive in this digital age, which has got everybody just bouncing off the walls, so to speak. She's also the creator, and this sounds really interesting, and you need to check this out if it sounds like something you'd like to do. But she's created the Digital Wellness for Families course. I could see a lot of use for that. And so many families that I know where computers and technology have gotten in the way of moms and dads and sons and daughters and everybody in the family. This is an 8-week course online designed to teach parents and families how to live more authentic and connected lives by spending less time with technology. Love it. After spending 25 years as a real estate broker and corporate consultant, where she helped businesses and leaders transform professional work environments physically, digitally, and socially to build more human-centered business cultures and achieve greater business impacts. It's a lot of words there, but so meaningful and so needed. With a focus on human thriving, imagine that, somebody that really wants others to thrive. Love it. Anya is also the founder of DEST, a social community centered around real human interactions. So enough of my introduction here. Let's get to this. This is really nice. Welcome to the show, Anya.
Oh my God, John, that was amazing. You are going to have to read and do an intro at every podcast and every interview I do from now on. That was really well done. Thank you so much.
Well, it's well deserved. I'm so intrigued. I'm so grateful that you reached out to me, because the couple of conversations I want people to know that Anya and I have been at a very high level. Doesn't mean that we're better. We're just thinking. And that's what we need to do more of. But enough about me. I really want to know more about you and how you got to where you're at. I know you recently moved. Tell us about that life.
So, I put together my bio, and after hearing you read it, I just kind of hear how the humanity and social component, how it jumps off the page. So, being connected to other human beings is really important, not just to my work, but to my being. And so with ProjectBe and what I do in my work, kind of my elevator quick pitch is that I help people gain control of their time. And so I give them back their time. And it's accumulative. We spend over 100 days each year on our phones, which is an incredible, it's 3 months of every year that we're connected to technology. And so these are really kind of, these are real numbers, and it's just the way of life. As far as my background, I was raised in communist Russia in a Soviet system, and I came to the United States at 11. I love America, and I'm a patriot, and so I'm really proud to be here. And so one of the ways in which in how I set up my platform is by kind of going back into how I was raised, which was completely analog. We did not have, not only did we not have digital capacity for anything, we didn't have Walkmans, we really didn't have TVs, we didn't have kids content, but we really didn't have that many toys as kids.
Mm.
And so I grew up in what is called free range parenting, right? So we had complete autonomy in how we as kids function and live, in a sense that we had a home and it was safe and there was food, but everything else, we kind of really had a freedom to express being a kid and what it meant. And there was a barrier in how we were raised between adults and children. And so now, when part of what I do is I help people disconnect from technology, and a lot of people I work with are parents. And so I kind of view this different way in which I have grown up completely detached from any one thing. And so you have this really real experience as a child, which is what we lack today, I think, in our social connection. So not social online, social in real life. And so I launched my platform in at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and then we went into lockdown. So it became really tricky to talk to people about abstaining from technology. And so now we're almost 3 years into this new world in which we live in. And so I've noticed some of the ways, some of the generational differences in which the technology has affected each and every one of us, and how that has shaped our current way of life. And so one of the things I think that is happening, and why the world is kind of falling in a sense of mental health disconnect, this inability to be together, is that we now live in a computer. And so our reaction time, our attention span, our ability to connect to each other is really altered, because we are now just right now, the way you and I are speaking, where it's the through the technology. And so it takes away this real human impact that humanity,
That you actually need,
yeah, I mean, we need this. This is why we're sick. If you ask what the harshest punishment for men is, it's isolation and solitary confinement. And I think in the last 3 years, so I have like a really mixed opinion about this. On one hand, I think that if we didn't have the iPhone for as long as we do, since 2007, we would have a lot more casualties in the last couple of years, because I think people wouldn't have been able to been so isolated without having the phone, and without having all these years to get used to being with the phone. I think the technology saved a lot of people. Listen,
Hmm.
including myself, I moved here from New York City to Charleston in July of 2020. And so by the time I got here, it was a severe lockdown. I really didn't know anybody. Everybody were in a pod and I wasn't. And so my only connection to other people was through Zoom. And I think it's really telling what the technology has done to us now that we're kind of like seeing what the effects of all of this have been. And so, go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead. I just, I'm always making notes, but you've touched upon a lot of subjects that are very relevant, and Anya, what you're doing, you almost feel it, and even the physiological, psychological, and emotional is one thing, but the physical, the dopamine spikes that add to the cortisol, that increase stress, that add to the depression, and then instant gratification. And I've got power at my fingertips, and I just, and I want you to get back to it, but the way you were raised, the way I was raised in the States, I'm a little bit older than you, I think probably a lot, but we had some technology, right? And so, but we did learn resourcefulness, without the adults around. We learned how to fend for ourselves, which is what I hear happened to you in Russia, this free range. You guys kind of just did things without the adults around. Is that true?
Well, here's what's happened in America in the last 50 years. America has eradicated child's play, right? And so I
Right.
had a client text me a message today of her son riding a bike. He's 10, 11. He had a watermelon on his head. The size of the helmet, the kid was bound. I mean, it was obvious that the helmet was too heavy. And so I texted her and I said, does he have to wear a helmet? She was just showing me that he was riding a bike to school. And she said, yes, you're right. The ground is really smooth, but it's mandatory by school. Now, he's riding on a flat surface, it's 1,000 feet. He's not going to fall. But if he is, he's not going to hurt himself. But so now what we have done is we put this helmet on him. And so his balance is really off. It's covering his eyes. I mean, I could see it. He's not able to balance on a bike because he has this huge helmet on. And if the wind blows, it'll blow him top over.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm thinking to myself, did I have a helmet growing up? No. Nobody. We didn't have seatbelts in cars. It just, my mom, when I was little, my mother, she tells me this, I don't remember. I was 4 months old and we were upstate. She got into a fight with her mother, my grandmother, my grandfather. She called him, he picked her up. They were driving back. It was nighttime. He saw a moose. He crashed into the moose. And I said to my mother, was I okay? And she said, yeah. And I said, where was I? My mother went first into the windshield. And so she shielded me with her body. She wasn't in a seatbelt. And I said to her, I wasn't in a car seat. And she said, there were no car seat.
Yeah.
Like, right. So, and I'm not, you're right. I'm not as old as you, right. So for me, can you imagine where you had technology, but I didn't? So
Yeah, and that's, and I think about that, like when the power goes out, right? Or let's say Super Bowl Sunday, that the power is out. People literally freak out.
I
It's all,
know.
it's this umbilical cord to something that's not real.
Well, because that's where we live now. That's the technology, right? So that device takes away our ability to experience things in real time and real life. Things, experiences, weddings, funerals, schools. I mean, I talk to people all the time about this. If I am at dinner with someone, I don't understand how can I be less important than somebody in that device who's not even there. And so now what we've done is, we don't have the phones, we have the watches. And so you can be talking to someone and you just like you have it, it's this incredible conversation. You guys are, going back and forth. It's like a game of ping pong. And all of a sudden it's this. And that's it. The person looks back at you and you continue speaking, but you can see that their mind is somewhere else. And so because of the work I do, I know that it's once interrupted, once a thought, a task, whatever it is you're working on, once you're interrupted, it takes us between 23 and 25 minutes to get back into that original task, because the brain has to recalibrate, right? Because I am not an app, right? And so one of the things what I talk to people about and why I draw so much from how I grew up. I read a lot. I was very lucky. I had a grandmother, not the grandmother that I told you about earlier. Not that she taught me how to read. She taught me the love of books, and she used to read to me. And so what reading does is it helps with our critical and cognitive thinking. And so the way I think, the way most people think, the way we used to think is you're thinking about something, right? So I can say to you, apples fell from the sky today. And you're going to sit down and you're going to say, okay, in what scenario could this have happened? Oh, what if I sat under a tree? Right?
No, exactly.
But we
I,
don't do that. And so we've lost. And so what's happening, our human experience, this connection, it's broken, right? It's not working right.
when
It's
that's,
just not.
you mentioned critical thinking, and I couldn't agree with you more on that. We're not thinking, and when you don't think, you're not using reason and logic. You're just taking in input, and you're probably going to react to it the way the input's given to you.
It's reactive.
So it's reactive. And so
Right.
what I see in a larger sense is that common sense just evaporates. And can you imagine, because it's the line of business, but I can't even imagine people that are so well, I guess I could, that are so addicted to technology that they actually have physiological and emotional issues because of it. You see that, right?
Well, that's our youth right now. And
Yeah.
you know what's more? So right now, what was I listening to earlier today? I was listening Matt Dillon of Babylon Bee on Joe Rogan. So so now, so what TikTok, I don't know, I don't know if I told you this. I don't know if your listeners know this, but so TikTok is a Chinese app. And in China, that is a state app, as everything is. And that app is used for propaganda, science, and kind of news between 6 and 9 p.m. That's it. So it's not a 24-hour access app. And there's no dancing, there are no pictures. It's not a site that it is in America. In America, we have kids gluing their tongues to walls as these challenges. It's 24 hours a day. And some content is great. People tell me I've never used it. I will never use this app. If you read TikTok's manual, like their user rights, it is insane. So once you download TikTok on your phone, first of all, the microphone is on. So it records everything you do. And I know Google does, but at least that's an American company. This is China. And another thing that they do, they copy all of your keystrokes in the phone. That you have access to photos. They have access to the Chinese government has access to all of the data on children's phones, on their parents' phones. It goes through the system. That is unbelievable. For me personally, that is a huge invasion of privacy, right?
Absolutely.
Data,
It's definitely, like we just keep saying, it's a Chinese communist
right?
state-owned
And
platform. That says it all.
and so now our youth is addicted to it so much that TikTok has become much more popular than Instagram. So what Instagram is now has done, if you log into, and I don't know this, but Tim Dillon was talking about this. If you log into Instagram and you'll go to post, it used to be post a picture. That's what Instagram was for. But now it's reels, little short films, which is what TikTok does. So they're going to try to compete with TikTok.
Right.
And so what it does is, I don't know if we talked about this before, for all the parents out there whose children are on their phones, whether it's TikTok, social media, or any type of content, it is the same as giving them beer. And when I talk about it, what does that mean? There's a reason that in America, we have a 21-year-old limit on age drink, and that's the age that you can drink alcohol. The reason for that is because the frontal cortex doesn't fully harden till 25. And so if you give a 16-year-old beer, they're going to get much more intoxicated than a 26 would be, because the gray matter with which the alcohol penetrates through is much thinner. And so now we have that with technology. So the children, all the stimulation that they see on the screen, the movement, the noise, the colors, the buttons, the lights, it's just way too much stimulation for a small underdeveloped brain, which should be developing by, how kids used to play, like the little circle you put on the stick and then the cubes, right? That's how you learn shapes.
It's cognitive learning. Yes.
And so, like script, this is so interesting. Nobody, I have a lot of younger friends, they're in their 30s, none of them can read script. And so if you say to them, they'll say, like, what do I need? I don't write. They don't write, they text. Well, studies show that by learning script, that's where you train your cognitive and critical thinking, right? Because it's movement, it's penmanship, it's
Well, I know what you're saying. It's like you say, so you take your soul, your spirit, and then it goes to the brain, and then the brain goes to the hand and the pen, and then you write the script.
evolution.
And it's a system. It's a process.
Yes, it's common sense. That's how you learn. You and I have common sense. I think the older generation has more common sense, but you get common sense by experience and kind of failing and falling off the bike. We fall off the bike, we break an arm, we try not to fall off the bike anymore.
It's
But
true, yeah. And then, gosh, you're bringing to light, one thing that you said, that the studies show that the average person in a technological world that uses digital tools spends 3 months a year if they were to
Adam
yeah.
Alter book Irresistible.
So think about this. I mean, I'm sure you have. We're always thinking, right? Imagine that goes on for, let's just say, 20 years, right? And you get at the end and you look back and you have years and years and years of your life that you have spent in the digital world.
Yeah, but you have all these Instagram pictures and all these likes.
Yeah. I know you're being facetious, but you know what I'm saying? It's just, so what can people do? First of all, a couple of things. What are the symptoms? Let's say you're a parent, and what are the symptoms that some child's really got a problem? And then what are some of the things that, without giving away the course, but I mean, what are some of the things that people can do to help that child, but also what can the person do to wean themselves off of this stuff?
So if you take the technology away from your child, your boy, your little boy, little girl, and they go into an hysterical fit, that's the sign of addiction. That's dopamine. It would be the same thing if you took alcohol out of somebody who's drinking. They would get really, right? So that's the temper tantrum. That's the addiction. So that's how you see if they're addicted. It would be the same thing for a person. Have people leave their phones in their bedroom for the first half an hour of their day. See if they can do it. If they can do it, they're good. See if people spend one day not taking their phone to the bathroom with them.
And if
One
they
day,
can't, yeah, one day. If they can't, then
and
there's
it
an
kills
issue.
me. I love when people like, did you wash your hands? They go into the bathroom, they take their phone out, they put it on God knows what, then they pick it up, they hold it with their teeth, they wash their hands, and then they grab that phone and they put it on their, I love it. So those are all the signs, right? Like, can I just put this thing down for any significant amount of time without feeling uncomfortable and feeling that you're missing something out? So that's like the first is these first minutes. Second of all, I think it's just some small things. I think no phones when you're having dinner with someone, at all. I think that's a really good, be present for yourself, for the experience, for going out. Everything's very expensive now. You're going to a nice restaurant, enjoy it. It's costing you $38 for a chicken parm. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Eat it slowly and, enjoy it. Just that's one. Second of all, I tell this to couples and friends, like, don't text each other throughout the day. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Keep that for dinner. Sit down and have a conversation. How was your day? What? No, really? Oh my God, have a conversation. Obviously, if you need, pick up sugar or whatever, pick this up, no problem. But have these, and the same thing with friends. There's no reason to have these, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Okay, great. Catch you tomorrow. That's not a, you know, that's not a connection. That's not that's really taking away a lot. Everything is kind of silly on the phone. So I think that's really important. I think for kids, it's really important to be engaged in real life activities. I think children learn self-confidence by contributing into the world. And so I think having children participate in their upkeep, help with the dog, go walk the dog. If it's too big, you can't go outside, fill the dog's bowl with water, play with the dog, put your laundry in a basket. Always, always, always make your bed in the morning. My grandmother taught this to me when I was very young. I remember asking her why we have to do it. I never understood, like, because why we have to make the bed when we go to sleep in it at night. I just remember debating her on it while making the bed. And I have been making my bed every morning. I wake up and I get a cup of coffee and then I kind of go lay down and I get up and I make my bed. And I think of these simple things of how we've stopped doing stuff. I think cooking is incredibly important. I think teaching your kids how to cook is incredibly important. If you don't know how to cook, there's an incredible book that I recommend by Jamie Oliver. It's a 5-ingredient book. It is every recipe has 5 ingredients. It is incredible, and it's really great to do with children. It's really great to do with children because it engages them and it teaches them a skill, and it shows them what nutrition is. And it takes time. It takes time to open the book, write the recipe out, go to the store, buy the groceries, come back. That's how we used to live. And there are lessons learned in all of this. It's really beautiful.
No, you know what I'm getting from you? This is really nice. Learn to be human again.
Yeah, like what
You
I'm
know,
talking about is not very, when people meet me like, oh, what do you do? It's like, I tell people to take bigger breaths and to walk around outside anymore without their buds in, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because when we walk outside and we cover our ears, we are completely disconnected from nature and everything that we are connected to, the earth, the birds, the sky, the wind. And there's all these studies, and John, I never thought I'd be this person to say all this, but there are studies, because I read them and I've experienced myself, that talk about the healing of sound, because it's real, because our brain, that calmness, right, when we listen to the sound, that's the meditation. So you
No,
don't have
that
right? So you
That's true. You know, they got CDs. If you can't make it out, they've got low volume
outside,
CDs.
go
No, I know,
outside.
but if you can't get there, let's say you want to just get, like you say, breathe deeper. I remember
Yes,
this one I used to listen to called Loon Lake, and it
yes.
was nothing but a bunch of loons, but it was recorded in such a way that if you really listened to it, it was real. Like if you're in the city and you can't get out, maybe something like that could help.
I think, I have been really, I live and breathe and kind of what interests me is human evolution. And I'm very interested in how do we optimize our current, how do people right now, how do you wake up tomorrow? And I can give you tools. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to order anything. It's not in the future. It could be, starting
It's
now.
now, yeah.
Right. So we, circadian rhythm, our sleep, once it is interrupted, it's very hard to build back. There's no bank of sleep. You don't make up sleep. It's really, really important that we sleep every night to rest and reset our brain. Children who sleep less than 8 to 9 hours a night develop very serious mental health issues. There was a study that was published. I put it on my LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, um, and we know that people are not sleeping well because of the phones. So children should not have phones in bed. They will give you 100 excuses. They need music, they need a clock, they can't get them a sound. Take them to the store, and these are your options. You can get a clock, you can get a sound machine, you can get a music machine. That's it. Parents have to start being parents. I can't stress this enough. You can't parent and kind of say, I don't want my kid to be mad at me. Because I think what we're taking away from them is first, this is how, by you regulating them now, they will learn how to self-regulate later.
Well,
And it's
you're doing them a huge disservice if you don't discipline.
right. I said to my one client, I said, your daughter, she expressed interest in babysitting. I said, great. Wow, you're halfway there. Have her do flyers, hang it out. And she said, I will find the first client for her. I will make it my. And I said, no. I've been working with her for the last couple of weeks. And I was like, no, haven't you heard anything? I say, not you. She has to find that first job because you're taking away her, what was the word I
Her
used?
ability to do it on her own, her resourcefulness, her
It's her
motivation.
plight. It's her plight. It's her getting older.
Yeah.
Right? It's how she grows into that next stage of a responsible adult. So that's what parents are doing by allowing. Not only are you disrupting their circadian rhythm, so
Mm.
if your circadian rhythm is disrupted and you're not sleeping well, you're not going to eat well and your body's not going to function well. And if you don't eat well, then you get tired and then you get moody and then you get groggy and then you get grouchy and right. So there's a system and how we function best. Sleep, I think, is really important. Nutrition is really important. Eat less food and more of it fresh. And I know a lot of people talk about budgets and money and everything is so expensive now. But potatoes and cabbage and beets, it doesn't cost a lot of money. And you can grill them and you can make really healthy vegetables, grow tomatoes, go to a farm stand. We can grow that in-house. There's a way to get access to healthy food.
No, there absolutely is. My garden is 25 feet by 25 feet. I
Right.
do cucumbers, cantaloupes, watermelons, peppers, beans, eggplant, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, hot peppers, lettuce, cabbage. You should taste my sauerkraut. You'd love it.
I mean,
Um,
that's life right there. Everything.
I've never done a garden in my life, and I
Yeah,
started this year, and it's phenomenal how much food I've learned how to can tomatoes. I've
it's
learned how to
amazing.
make dill
Winter,
pickles.
we
Yeah,
used to do that in Russia. My mom used to do it. If you go into a
I
store,
love it. Yeah.
try to shop on the outer perimeter of the store. Once you go inside of the store, deeper you go, the worse the food gets for you. All the bread, all the, it's like, and it's interesting because how I grew up, my my mom would bring a chicken home and it would be a dead chicken, but it would be a full chicken with all the feathers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
plug the feathers first, and then she would hold it over fire to burn that whatever left, and then she would chop all the body parts off, and then we would cook everything and eat everything. We ate the brain, the feet. I never saw chicken the way I saw it here first in America, all the body parts cut up like that. I'd never seen anything like that.
You were used to the all natural chicken.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's another thing. I never remember asking my mother what was for dinner because we really didn't have food, or not a lot. We had food, but it wasn't a lot of it. And sometimes it was hard to get. There were no options, right? There was no fast food. There were no restaurants like it was here. So we just grew up in a very different way. And so here you have to help your kids. If you have a play date if your children have play dates, I don't think they should have phones at these play dates. The reason they're on a play date is to presumably play with each other, right? Play games, run around, draw, make something up, watch movies, go outside, play soccer, play basketball, play hockey, play basketball, play. But it can't be kids sitting in the room on computers, on the phones as a play date. You
No,
know,
I hear you. Have you seen the movie The Social Dilemma? I'm sure you have.
yes, of course.
You
Yeah.
know, and that movie, which I saw, I forget who recommended, but I saw it a couple of years ago, and it just blew me away. And it made me was when the first time that I started to really say, if you have people that develop these platforms telling you that their own children don't use them, it's enough to make you go, wow, what's with this?
But
There's
it's
something here.
hard, John, it's hard. I talk to parents, right? And they say there's tremendous pressure because the kids are bullied or they feel left out or they that's how children function today. And I don't use Snapchat, I don't use TikTok. um I don't have any apps on my phone. I think that's another really important thing. Take all the apps and all the alerts on your phone. There's no reason why you should have all these alerts. It's just it's a trap, right? It's a complete trap. And so these are little hacks that can really, so if you leave the phone out of your bedroom, if you get up in the morning and start your day a little bit, you just have a little moment, it could be 5 to 7 minutes, right? People can start slow. Brush your teeth without the phone. Brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, take a shower, just start just few minutes. Let the body wake up, right? So
It's all, yeah, it's, don't take this wrong, but it's like, Anya, you're like a throwback to the simplicity of life, and you're commonsensical, and you can tell by conversation and things that you've been talking about that you're actually thinking. And I gotta tell you, it's a real joy to talk to people that are actually thinking for themselves. We can think, we might be group thinking, but what you're talking about is something that we need to get back to, and you're on the front lines, aren't you, of this kind of thought process?
So on Sunday, I had a brunch. I've had a bunch of days. I'm perfecting my model. I love to host. I love to cook. I live in the third floor. So I invited 20 people. On Friday, I went food shopping because I had to bring all of the stuff up to the third floor. On Saturday, I prep cooked, which took about 4 hours. So I had to cut everything up. I had to set the table. I was really exhausted. I took a nap. And then on Sunday morning, I got up, I baked banana bread and croissants, and then people came at 12 and people left at 6. There were no phones. One girl had a phone, made a video of, it was a really elaborate setup, beautiful food, really beautiful table, great guests. Because what I'm trying to kind of curate and create is, I want to meet people where they're at, as opposed to saying
Human
to
interaction, yeah.
I also want to meet people where they're right. So if I say to you right now, John, I think you should start your morning with a 45-minute meditation in silence. That is unattainable for most of us, including me. That's just not where I live, and it's not where I'm comfortable. And so, I think we've been fed this, this is how peace looks like, but it doesn't. It looks different to all of us. And so the way I find my peace is that I cook. While I cook, I'll be listening to a podcast. And so it's just something that I do. I find it very meditative, and it's also educational. And then on Sunday, when people come, they've been to my house, they know what I do. There's no phones allowed. Um, and so what I provide is, when people walk in, everything smells really great because I baked all morning. And then there's flowers, and the setup is really beautiful. It's just like, it's something that I do. People say that I should have a career out of it, but I don't want a career out of it. I just love to host. That's why it looks like that. And then I put the good food, right people, and then we just sit there and connect. And I have an inside, and then I have a porch, and on my porch I didn't have music. And it was unbelievable just how much people, like, we just switched in groups. We kind of circle around in this porch and change groups, and we talked from 12 to 6.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One thing that I like what you said is everybody has their interest and their unique skills. One thing people always ask me, they go, all these self-help books, we can go to the bookstore, Barnes and Noble. I love books too. And people will ask, which books actually work? What techniques work? I got this book and I did it for a month and it didn't work. And well, what did you do? Well, I did this and I did that, and then I found out this didn't work. So I always say, what works in your life, which you made me think about with the meditation. What works is what works for you. That's what works.
Exactly.
And like you with hostess and cooking and getting in there and really loving the conversations, that works for you.
Yeah.
And that's why you love to do it. I'm, what that, there's so many good things. I got pages of notes. Being present without technology is the first thing I picked up on, is being like you at the party without technology. One person filmed it, but there was a reason for the technology.
I texted her the next day, and I had asked her, because somebody told me that she did. They knew that I would be really upset. And I texted her and I said, I would appreciate that you delete that from your phone, because I don't know where we have come to live in this world to where I can walk into your house and just start filming. I find that
Yeah, it's kind of an invasion of privacy too.
that's right. That's right. It's not. And then I said, if your sister, and I knew what she would come back and say. She would say, I wanted to show my sister. And so I said to her, I invited your sister. So if she didn't want to come and see it and be part of it, she doesn't see it. That's what, right? I do not live on social media. This is the event. It's happening now in real life. It's not something you see after. It's not something. And so we're so used to, oh, let me show you where I was. And so that
Gosh, I hear you loud and clear. It's like
on Monday,
yeah,
when people texted me to say thank you or called, and they were like, holy moly, it felt so good to be in these deep conversations. Or like, get up and say, I have to go to the bathroom, and come back and pick the conversation up, because the group is still talking, right? They're not, it's unbelievable. I mean, John, I see it all the time when people go to restaurants, couples sitting looking at their phones, they sometimes don't speak through the meal.
it's and even groups too. 5 or 6 people at one table during lunch or something. They're all on their phones, and that's probably some of the best advice anybody can have or give. Is
That's addiction, right? If we were smoking cigarettes and we would be going out to smoke a cigarette every few minutes, you would say that person smokes a lot, right? There are smokers that smoke a cigarette a week. No problem. No problem. It's bad for you, but no problem, right?
right.
There are people that drink a Coke when they go out. It's terrible for you. It's sugar. I don't advocate that people drink soda, but no problem. But if you drink 7 Cokes a day, it's innate, right? So I think somehow, because of the phones, because of this constant, there's this, it's just more. I want to get more light. So it's this, something is really off. And the only way I think, like, the way I see it, that this could be fixed is from within. It's from people like you and I seeking each other out, talking about these issues, and helping people with real um, simple
Solutions.
free
Yeah.
solutions, right? You don't have to buy a new, you don't have to do anything. You just have to be, right?
And that's the ProjectBe that
Which is
we,
what project, and so it's so hard for people. I run a whole Be Board platform. I've been talking about this for, creativity, innovation lives in a space of empty. Creativity and innovation does not live in the mind that is going from Twitter to Facebook to Snapchat to Twitter to Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Oh, look at this. That's not what we create. That's chaos. It's an organized chaos, which is created this really unhealthy environment. And so what I talk a lot about is kind of, again, nothing I've said so far has been earth shattering. It's all the things we used to do. I think we're missing kindness. I think we're missing kindness because we have parents that aren't observing the world and teaching children to seek kindness, to help. I went to pick up some bandages at a pharmacy the other day, and it's a cute little pharmacy in Mount Pleasant, and there's no parking there. And I was pulling in, and there was an older couple in a fancy white Audi with a rooftop looking for parking. And I said, "Excuse me," right? It was top, like a car without a top.
yeah. Like convertible.
Yeah, convertible. And I said, "I'm just running in to pick something up. You can have my parking spot when I get back." And they both looked, they were like, "Thank you." And I ran to the pharmacy, I picked up the Band-Aid, I paid for it, I ran back, and they looked around and they took my parking spot. This morning, I went to Trader Joe's and I was walking back with my cart, and this woman was also walking back with her cart. And I turned to her and I said, "Want me to take you back? Want me to take this back for you?" She was so shocked that I was even speaking to her. And she said, "Oh, that's so nice of you." And I'm walking and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's nothing. I'm capable of so much more. But that, if I was on the phone, I wouldn't see her next to me dragging a cart. If I was on the phone when I walk out of my car, if I didn't leave my phone, I'm going to the pharmacy. No emergency is going to happen in the next 4 minutes. I promise you. If I was on my phone, get out of the car, slam the door, I wouldn't see that couple.
We
And
see it all the time. There's a woman that walks the neighborhood. She's always got her phone in her hand with the earbuds in, and she just every day she just walks by. She's not hearing anything. She's not talking to anybody.
there's
She's
a
just
woman
listening.
like that in every neighborhood. There's many of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I live in a very rural place now. I left the bigger city, down in Florida. We're up here in this rural place, and it's like a huge, deep breath now. I can literally hop in my car, go to the grocery store, find a parking place, go through one light, pass 15 cars, and it's 9 miles away, and get anything I can get when I'm in the bigger city. And if I need something really, I can be in DC in an hour, or I can be in a bigger city in 20 minutes. It's
Yep.
lovely. So, what you've given so much. I'm telling you, this has been like a lesson in reality, is what I'm calling it.
Thank you.
And what I'm getting here, there's so much. This is a way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here still with Anya and me, this is a way to live your life again, is what I'm seeing. I mean, there's so many hot topics here: exercise, nutrition, how to be resourceful, how to get your rest, how to interact with humans, how to have a real conversation, how to learn simpler things, the things that really make your spirit come alive. Critical thinking, reason, logic, awareness, increased awareness, just a healthier lifestyle all the way around. You
And more
know,
time, it's unbelievable if people have a system and they start getting off the phones, delete the apps. That's the first, the mindless scrolling. And then you end up, out of 100 days a year, give yourself back the 40, the 50. 50 days a year, that's almost 2 months vacation, 2 whole months.
That's incredible. You know, I heard that about being stuck in traffic. You know, the average person's stuck in traffic for an hour, so 7 hours a week. You know,
But
28
there's
hours a
no
month.
being stuck in traffic. But being stuck in traffic, because I used to commute, this is why, so, I know the audience doesn't see this, but all these books I read in the last 2 years, right? So when I drive, I listen to books on Audible. Most of what I do is listen to podcasts, and then whoever I love in the podcast,
That's one way of doing it for sure. Yeah.
so there are things that you can do to expand your mind. Social media is not one of them.
You know,
And
this is interesting. This is the first show because Well was originally one of the things we wanted to do was help men to be better men. But the reality with this show and with what you're doing is how to just be a better person and have a better life.
I think
Yeah,
men,
I love that.
we need better systems. We cannot, men have to stop buying into this idea that they're not great men. So stop buying into that bullshit. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast. That is, we have,
that's not a curse word, I don't think.
guys like Harvey Weinstein existed always. Okay, it's not the first one, it's not the last one. I don't know how we now define men that, I'd like to see women talk shit about men when there's a mouse in the house. It's the basic things. We don't realize what men do and what men used to do. Protect women, protect our honor, protect families. So we now live in a world where all of that is shifted. We're blaming men for a lot of the failures of society. We're facing a societal issues. We need better women. We need better mothers. We need mothers that are less distracted. We need mothers that are less distracted with the phones, with social media, with how it all looks. We need mothers that are interested and invested in their families, in their husbands, in their children. So it's a societal issue. I feel, men are not standing great right now. That's why Jordan Peterson is so popular, because he talks about virtues and values and personal accountability, which doesn't just apply to men, it applies to all of us. And we talked about this the other day. Listen, a lot of stuff in life depends very much on how we grew up. And I understand that. I'm an example of that, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, we live in the United States of America. It is the most freest country in the world, and it is incredible. And so the opportunity here, you can literally have 4 arms here and 2 feet if you wanted to. And so getting a job, making sure you're educated, starting, John Mackey, the Whole Foods founder, he had a great article the other day, and he said, all the Gen Z, everybody wants to be, they all want to do purposeful work. They all want to change the world. You don't start the work by changing the world. You work up to finding that purpose and meaning.
That's probably the best advice anybody can. That's the whole be you, be present, be you. Let's just say I'm Anya, right? If I was Anya, here's what I would be telling, based on what you do. I would say find and seek real human connection. Engage in real conversations, have real communication, be present, be you, and work on building a non-digital culture in your life as well. And I'm thinking if you were to do those things, if we were to have the Anya Pechko course, listening to you, that's what those things would be the beginning and the start. Like what you just said, it starts with the individual. It doesn't start with the collective.
No.
It starts with you.
And then find people. I think it's really important for people. We are the sum of 5 people closest to us. Find people who support you, not people online, not in chat rooms, not with these weird names, Bob654. Real people who will meet you, who will give you advice, who will kind of will want you to succeed. We need each other. And I think right now there are a lot of people that are struggling. So those of us that have the time, that have Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat accounts, find someone you can mentor, change your life. If you go into any community in anywhere in America right now, there are illiterate children in our schools. An hour a week can change the mentees' success rate by like 236%. It's a really astronomical number. I volunteer. I'm going to plug something. I volunteer for an incredible organization called Be a Mentor. It's a it's a community platform that helps local kids and matches them up with mentors. And we set up reading programs and we play with the kids and we just kind of bring a little hope into very impoverished communities. And so that's how people can change their own existence. And I think also that's how we can start changing and impacting the change that everyone wants to see in the world.
That's fantastic. Volunteering, I can't say enough about it. But let me look at you. Let me see you. If do you have you're funny. Do you have a what is your mantra? Do you have a personal mantra that you live by? I know be you, but do you have like a saying or a quote of yours or somebody else's that you live by, that you every day when you get up? Is there what drives you, Anya? What drives you? What's that spirit?
I we haven't talked about this and we obviously don't have the time to talk about it now, but I've had incredible experiences with psychedelic treatments in the last year that I've been here. And God has never spoken to me as loud and as direct as he has in the last year. And God I feel that God wants me to spread this message. And the message I have is a message of love and its importance of real human connection when people go out of their way to lift someone else up. And the reason I'm so against technology is because that is a very narcissistic system, which draws us very far away from that. And so I wake up, I consider myself very blessed and very lucky, although I by no means, I've had a very, rocky life, but I'm grateful. And I think, I rely on myself. I think of myself as a hero. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. And that drives me. I have a lot of people who I've been working with in the last year, and my coaching practice has grown because my message is of strength. It's of positivity. It's of connection. When I work with couples and, they'll complain and to me, whatever, I always say compromise, give in, let you eat, right? So I push people to connect more, forgive more. We need to come together. And the reason I say all this stuff and the reason this is my mission is because I think I'm feeling that loneliness. And so what feeds me, what energizes me is that hope that one voice can raise awareness and pivot, literally tilt the way in which the world is heading right now. I think we need a lot of love. I think people need to have patience. I think people need to seek people out who they have difference of opinion with and reason and try to understand. I think people should stop having conversations online and talk in person, talk on Zoom, talk on the phone. You know, I think we need to get back to humanity. I think we're in real trouble right now. Before AI takes over, before we're told what to think, which is already happening.
Yeah,
There,
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's what we said at the outset of this particular conversation is that everything that you're involved in now, your mindset, the experiences you've had that have brought you to this place, this present place here and now, are all things that are so badly needed in the world today. And like you talk about those experiences, I've also had those connections in the psychedelic world, and there's there's a lot going on, more so than what meets the eye, and it comes from that internal spirit. And I think that you are a warrior, and I think that you have a brain that is definitely logical and using reason, deductive reasoning, but also the part that you mentioned about love, and the part that you meant, and I don't mean the creepy kind of love that that the
no,
world
we are
embraces,
scarred for love.
something divine, more divine, and the hope. And without hope, when we lose hope, then there is no humanity will have nothing. And
There's no
so
future without hope.
when I said you were on the cutting edge, you are on the cutting edge, you're on the front lines. And I know that wherever you go, you will and you are making an impact. I know we'll have more conversations in the future, but we're coming to the end of this conversation. But all I can say is I appreciate your time. We'll have all the information on how you can reach Anya. Maybe you'd like to share that right now, how people can reach you if they're interested in learning more.
I have a site, ProjectBe.com. It has a lot of information. I've compiled research over the years into what the technology has done, why, how it was developed. And, so if people want to go there, that's great. My course is on Teachables. It's also really great. And then people can reach me at anyapechko@gmail.com.
That's
You know,
great. They're right. And so we're and I appreciate your time. I appreciate your work more than you know, because it is just nice. It's refreshing to talk to. Yeah, I know we're using technology. I get it, but it's refreshing to see and to hear real good content and information.
having a real conversation. And we also didn't say one virtue signaling word. It's like, this is a real, we have a real conversation.
Yeah, and that's another subject. But I'm so happy for you, and I'm blessed certainly to have met you, through LinkedIn and the internet, which is technology. But there are ways that technology can be used in a positive way, and this is one of them. Let this be an example. And to the listeners out there, if we didn't have you listening and using technology in a positive way, then we couldn't have a show. So thank you for listening to Well, because it means a lot, not only to me, but the guests that we have on our show. And Anya's doing some awesome stuff, and I can't wait to watch her change the world one person one day at a time.
Thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Well. Without you, we don't exist. There is no show. We hope the men who joined us today learned some valuable tips to improve and not be ashamed to use them. Be the change, men. Set the example. Keep going. And for the women leaders out there, keep creating and keep helping us men to become even better men, more effective leaders. Thank you. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and lead.